What's up, everybody? It's me, your trustworthy friend, Double A, the guy who'd never steer you wrong. So, uh, man, I can't do this. I gotta come clean. This, this right here, this whiskey, car whiskey, it ain't even whiskey, man. It's apple juice. It's goddamn Martinelli's. I believe I What is going on, people? It's me, your dude, Double A, and I'm here with Stump number 2. And man, am I excited for this. Let me tell you, it wasn't my first video, but I initially started my channel because I wanted to talk the good word of Stump. I love Stump number 1 so much, I was like, I gotta share it with the world. Unfortunately, it's like my worst video. I'm like all stuttering, like it's good art, good inside. You look in the book, it's good. Uh, this review is going to be a lot better. So look here, I want to be honest. I'm a big Stump lover. Okay, I bought both original cover art, right? So look here, you see this? Yeah, that's that little pinch of salt right there. That's that little pinch of salt I want you to take with this here review, because I'm about to dunk a bunch of sugar on this thing. Stump, written by Nathan Rosario. I did a little look into his history about a couple months ago after a certain update. And yeah, he did some web comics that look pretty cool. Did Stump number 1. I've got the original. It's pretty good. And then he remastered it and he improved on a lot, really showed a lot of development and growth in understanding the comic as a medium. And by all means, it was a success. People who got it dig it. I don't hear a bad word about it. But the important thing to remember is that Stump 1 remastered was, just like I said, it's remastered. Okay? So this, Stump number 2, it's essentially all new, from what I understand. There might be some things that were on the cutting room floor that were kind of left for later back in the day, but from what I understand, most, if not all of this is brand new. So how does how does Simp number 2? I'm a simp for Stump, I'll say it. How does Stump number 2 work as a sequel? I've had bad experiences with movies that are later revisited like 25 years later with sequels. It's rare you get a hit, you know? I'm thinking like Blade Runner might be a hit, but otherwise, man, you revisit the old franchises, it's a miss. Why am I talking about movies? So let's look at the cover. We got Stump. Bam! Number 2. I dig the covers for the most part. I mean, this is really dynamic action. The Mangrel looks great. This is the Mangrel, the main antagonist of this particular volume. I like these eyes. They're not like veiny, they're scaly, kind of otherworldly with these flaming eyebrows. And this look that's inspired by a mandrill. A mandrill. And you know what? Mr. Rosario and I discovered through our internet searches that a mandrill is not actually very closely related to a baboon. That was something we learned together on Twitter. You got Stump here. He's got the iconic, at this point for me, iconic flannel t-shirt. He's getting his arm chewed, and he's got this just sort of placid look on his face. I love that about Stump, personally. I think it speaks to his character. He's kind of, reserved going into every scenario. One could maybe say something like stoic to describe him. And I almost had a theory where he couldn't actually make many facial expressions because the gravity on his planet is so strong that on top of making him super buff and short, it also strained his face muscles to the point that he can't actually like make a grimace. I don't know. That's my headcanon for Stump. Like I said, the flannel is iconic. To me, the flannel for Stump is like Superman's cape. I can't really imagine Stump without it. And just so you guys know, if you keep up with Nathan Rosario's updates on the book, he's drawing this flannel every time, every page from reference. He has like a flannel in his office that he uses for reference, and he folds it in different ways so you can get the folds and the creases right. I'm really ruining this thing with the sunlight. This is why I don't do things in the day. There, that's better. But yeah, look at the creases and the folds in this thing, the phrase and everything. I mean, Nathan Rosario puts good work into this shirt. And like I said, for me, it's as iconic as Superman's cape. So that being said, who is Stump? Well, I think Mr. Rosario described him once as, what if Superman never left Kansas, right? You know, I like that idea. I think that's appealing. A working class Superman, essentially. So the story picks up like pretty close to number one. I think it was like 30 minutes. Mr. Rosario addresses it in some of the word bubbles. He's really good at giving us an idea of setting, time, by using dialogue. One critique I have here, this book is quite wordy, but none of the dialogue is useless. Meaning, if you're paying attention and you're reading, you'll get more out of the story, right? There's not a sudden tangent on, like, dim sum. Stump and his robot pal, who isn't a robot, you'd know that if you bought issue 1, which you should, they're looking for a kit star worm, right? And Stump's getting into it. He's like, wham, let's knock this sucker. This is stuff that he's shown on the campaign. And in my head, I was imagining what these next 3 panels would basically pan out to, as far as like word bubbles, and if it's going to be like a punchline joke sort of scenario. And it panned out exactly as I thought it would. The worm gets face fisted and crunches on the ground, and it just disappears. And Stump's reaction is, huh. It's like really understated, kind of simple humor. But I mean, that's another thing I like about Stump as a character, is you realize that he doesn't know everything, right? He's not Batman. He's not going to go into every scenario with a tool and a gadget to solve the problem. He knows a lot about the universe, a lot more than humans do, but he's still learning. This robot guy is essentially a creature of some sort that he's never met before. Kit Starworm he's never even heard of. And he's learning this all together. I love this, like, sunset shot. This is brilliant. Again, you know, time and setting being communicated in the images as well as the words. And here we get some very creative drawing here. So I can't do this in the day anymore. In the smoke of Robot Dude, he's talking about the kit star worms and how they're extremely rare creatures, live most of their lives in deep space, feeding on the substance that binds the universe together. So really neat design. Love this sort of half panel that, again, is taken up in this character's smoke. You know, Nathan Rosario is just very good at communicating using art, not just using art to communicate, you know? Yeah, he's really good at his craft. So let's see here. Again, we kind of get a sample of Stump as the working class hero. What's he doing? He's cleaning up the mess that he made by crashing down to Earth, right? Picking up rubble. And he actually gets, like, he gets picked up to clean out some old lady's garage. I mean, that's just like, that's such a small town thing to do, right? Hey, there's this old lady you've never met before because you've been here 5 minutes. But this is a small town, so when an old lady says she needs help cleaning out her garage, we clean out her garage. All you city folk out there, and I'm one of them, can you tell me the first names of your neighbors? I thought not. So there are some artistic shortcuts taken when you see Stump at a distance, like here. This is fine. There is one image later on, and I'm not too hot on it because it's close enough to him that you could get something like this, like eyebrows, small detail of a nose, maybe a mouth and lips, but for whatever reason it's left out. He's got just a hairy chest, man. He's just a hairy dude. Like this isn't the clean cut, Boy Scout Superman who, coming into the city wearing these big googly glasses. No, he's chumming it up with his robot brain friendo. He's changing his batteries and whatnot. And look, like I said, man, this book be wordy. All right, this book have words, But we haven't even really talked about the story too much, except for the beginning. So like I said, they search for the Kid Star, and so that we can find Brain Boy's wife here, right? Basically, he got captured, turned into a brain bot by this mad scientist who was beaten the last issue. And as a result, he's now looking for his wife who he got separated from. And look, Stump just happens upon people who are in trouble, and he feels responsible to help them. And if you read issue 1, or you saw my review, you'd get an idea of why he feels responsible, or perhaps, an inkling. I can't say exactly where that need to protect life comes from, but I can see it displayed appropriately in the flashback in Stump issue 1, which you should read. There's a little aside here with the monster that I don't remember. I don't remember Mr. Rosario doing anything with. So tune in next time. So without giving too much detail in the story away, we've basically found, okay, Kid Starworm, Robo-Friend needs wife. Come clean out this old lady's garage, right? And this is just a glorious sunset picture. I love it. The sun's shining through the tractor. When I saw this image get posted, I was like, man, everybody's got to buy this book. Basically, when Stump is cleaning out the place, he finds this little effigy, right? For those of you who don't know, this is a foo dog. It's a Korean sort of mythological creature, I think. Or maybe it's just a statue. Maybe that's literally it. But Mr. Rosario, he kind of drew upon this for the design of the mangrel, right? And I think he did so very effectively. He'd served in Korea. I know he's a military man. I forget which branch, but he'd served for some time in Korea. So he kind of drew upon his time in Korea for the inspiration of this character, the mangrel, which looks just gnarly. It's a really cool looking thing. It doesn't have a distinct forehead. Its eyes are just kind of popping out the top. It's all shoulder and arm and mass and big gnarly teeth. With this I don't know, is it scar tissue on the top of the nose? It's really cool looking. So basically, it's just kind of comical. Stump's oh look, it can open. Let me try it. Boom. He's just curious enough and powerful enough that he can actually open this thing. That's the thing. Nobody else could open it before because you needed a whole lot of power. Basically, Stump's coming into contact with something that he'd never come into contact with before. It's magic. And he has no understanding of magic. I love this. Lady comes in because this dude just broke into her dream realm out of nowhere. And he's like, bunk. Maybe that's why he has a constant resting, not phased face, because everything just kind of bounces off of him. It punched a Kid Starworm in the face and it just disappeared. Anyway, this lady kind of explains that, the foo dog, the mangrel, it's a curse that was laid on her father, for such and such a reason that I won't go into, but the mangrel is going to go through town and it's going to cut people up. So once and it's funny, it takes the lady a while to describe that to him. At first, she's just oh, it's a curse and it's going to be bad for everybody. And he's like, wait a minute, it's going to cause people harm? This is a great transformation page. The coloration gives it sort of not a dreamy feel, but otherworldly magic feel. So, what was I saying? So basically, Stump has no understanding of magic, and if you follow Superman, you understand that at some point it was decided that he's weak to magic. So I was oh, okay, we can get kind of derivative there where he's weak to magic. It's no, not really. Stump's unstoppable. He's unstumpable, but he's still learning new things, and that's where he can potentially stumble, is when he has to learn new things. I'm not going to reveal too much more here, except that Stump, he's a hammer. And if it ain't obvious that you're not to be harmed, you're a nail. So he kind of takes the hammer approach to the mangrel, but I really dig it. This expands upon the character from the last one. I described Stump number 1 as everything in the kitchen sink. It had space travel, aliens, big beasts, and robots and such. This has even more. It's got Korean magic food dog monsters. It's got a slumbering beast below the ice. It's got just about everything. Interdimensional space-eating worms. It's really well done. So the couple critiques I had, some shortcuts made with the face. Like there's one where Stump's at about this distance facing forward, and for whatever reason, he wasn't drawn with any distinctive features like eyebrow, nose, mouth. I couldn't find the page here. It's probably best I don't, because I'm just spoiling a bunch of stuff. But that's one critique I have on the art. Otherwise, like, art is used to great effect. Okay, I'll show one more thing, okay? Okay, I lied. I'm gonna show two more things. One, thought bubbles. I know your boy Zach has talked about the distinct lack of thought bubbles in modern comics. Nathan Rosario is not shy to use thought bubbles, and I love that. And he plays upon thought bubbles in comics. Like there's one point where Stump is like thinking to himself for a solid like 4 paragraphs, and somebody's suddenly like, "What's going on? You're just kind of standing there." And he's like, "Oh no, I'm fine." It's funny. Like that's pretty good stuff. Okay, one last thing with the word bubbles here. So these are the word bubbles for the Mangrel. They're distinctly, I'm trying to get as close to this so I can't reveal anything else. I'm sorry, Mr. Rosario. But it's all like scratched into the paper. It's very cool effect. These are for the Mangrel, communicating telepathically to Stump. There are other yellow word bubbles that look a bit neater around the edges, not so frayed, not so scratched. Those are for the, won't reveal her name, Korean lady who is trying to tell Stump, get off your butt, take this thing down, it's dangerous, right? Just effective word bubble use, great lettering. Mr. Rosario does all the lettering himself. This is just a professional level book. That's the thing. Like, where can you expect to get a book this quality for this price? Let's just talk about a few things here. The price point on this book is $10. There's my finger there. I'm pointing to you. $10 for this book. Perfect bound. It's got more pages than were promised initially, because Mr. Rosario's going in, he's editing and re-editing, and he's adding more story, taking some things out, adding more. He's a one-man show. This book, I don't know, man. I'm trying not to go crazy over it. But my concern was like, okay, we got Stump number 1. That's technically an old story with some revisions. Can Mr. Rosario continue? Can he make essentially a new story out of it? Can he progress beyond Stump number 1? And I think that he can. I think he's done a fan-flippin-tastic job. And all I can say is I'm really excited for Stump number 3. I should clarify, though, this isn't the final. This is a proof copy, right? I asked for one because he said they were available. He offered it up. I said, sure. The final one, I think there's like an edit on like page 9 in a word bubble. I forgot exactly where. But check this book out, man. I don't know if it's still in demand. Mr. Rosario, if you can, get in touch with Michael Bancroft. See if you can set up an online store somewhere or an eBay where you can sell more of these books. Get it through CG Now. I'm sure that people are going to want to look at this. This is a solid book. So impressed. Anyway, flip a like, subscribe, comment if you can. I'm going to do another like movie review probably pretty soon. I just finished Berserk 1997. Oh my God, that show. What? There were like a full 7.5 hours of what it was. And then like the last hour was nuts. And then the last 2 minutes were crazy. And then it stopped. And I'm angry. I got words to say, okay? Anyway, tune in next time. Love you all. Have a blessed day, man. Take care.